Hello everyone, welcome to another TLDR video. Today we're going to be talking about N0S4A2. And this book was written by Joe Hill and it follows our main character, Victoria McQueen. When Victoria was a little girl, she got a bike from her dad, and her mom and her dad are having an argument about a lost bracelet. Her mom's super distraught by it. Her dad's just like, you lost it, let it go, or maybe you'll find it later. Kind of dismissing her. Victoria doesn't want to hear her parents argue because they fight a lot, and she wants to help them so they can stop. So she starts riding her bike and she decides that she's going to go back to their place, the lake that they just visited, or they had like a weekend at, and she's going to go back to the places that they were at and find the bracelet for her mother. And while she's going down this road, she sees a bridge. And she knows that bridge is not there because she's ridden through that place, but she's trying to find, she sees it and she's like, I'm just going to go through. I'm going to go through and we'll see what happens. She goes through, there's bats with her face inside the bridge. And when she gets out, she's in the alley behind the place they had breakfast at. She goes in there. The guy's like, oh, hey, I was wondering when you were going to be back here. Here's the bracelet you left. And she doesn't understand what's going on. She's a little freaked out by it, but she's like, okay. She goes back to the alley where she came out. She still sees the bridge there, just goes right across it and is back to her house. And she gives her bracelet to her mother, like, here, I found it. And they're like, okay, there's the bracelet, that's fine. And this bridge is the way she's able to find things. But every time she finds something, then when she gets back, she gets ridiculously sick. She'll start passing out and she has a fever, and it takes her a long time to recover. Like, well, not a long, well, day or two to recover from that illness that she gets. And she starts doing this anytime something's lost. So it happens enough that her parents decide to hide the bike from her, because all they know is when she goes off riding her bike for a long amount of time, she comes back sick. So they hide the bike from her, and her parents are not a happy couple. They are not. This whole book is just people hurting people. They are not a happy couple. So they get a divorce when she's in her teenage years, and she continues to fight with her mother, but her father got a girlfriend who does not want her there because she's a troubled teenager who does troubled teenage things, and her new stepmother's just like, no, I don't want that noise in my house. And her dad's like, well, she runs away, and her dad's like, you can't come here because you got in a fight with my wife, girlfriend, last time you visited. So she decides she's going to hide in the basement of her house because that's the smart thing to do, to make her mom worry. She finds her bike there, and she is so upset that she just goes and she wants to find something. She's able to see the bridge, realizes that it's not all in her head like she thought it was, and ends up at a house surrounded by trees covered in Christmas ornaments. And she goes to this house. There's a car, an old vintage Rolls Royce in the garage. She looks in it, and there's a little boy in there. And she thinks that this little boy's been kidnapped because the little boy's like, I can't leave this car. She's like, come on, let's go. She's like, I can't leave this car. So she thinks this little boy was kidnapped, can't leave the car, and she tries to pull him out of it. And when he attacks her, he bites her, and she notices that his teeth have he tries to bite her. She notices his teeth have a bunch of little fish hooks instead of teeth. She freaks out. She's like, this is some weird hallucination. I don't know what's going on. And while she's being attacked by the man who owns the house, whose name is Charles Manx, shows up. And it turns out Charles Manx kidnaps children and keeps them in this vehicle until they turn into little monsters. And then so he could take them to Christmas Land, which is a place he tells these children he can go. He sees the bike, he sees the bridge. He's very fascinated with Victoria. But she's freaked out. He burns down the house because she's hiding in it, and she refuses to come out. She escapes, she escapes and goes down this little mountain road area and is able to flag down somebody to say, there's this man, he has this child and he's keeping him hostage, he tried to kill me. They go to a gas station, call the cops. Charles Minks is arrested and he dies in prison, and she's notified that he's dead years and years later when she's an adult. So after he was arrested, she told them that he kidnapped her, and then because he was taken across state lines as a federal case, as a whole thing, you get to see like the little bits and pieces that happen into it. And the guy who saved her was Lou. So when she was more of an adult, she decides that she does not want to be with her family anymore. She goes and moves to Colorado and finds Lou. And she ends up getting pregnant. They get married. She has a little boy. And the children that were kidnapped by Charles Minks start calling her on a phone. Whether the phones work or not doesn't matter. Whether they're real or not doesn't matter. The children call her. She finds out that art is the only way to help her push them away. They don't call as much. So she starts doing all kinds of art. She does art on motorcycles. She starts making these child find it books. And so they end up having a lot of money through that publishing, but she starts losing her mind because these children keep calling her, and she starts drinking a lot to try and just get them out of her way. She ends up setting her house on fire and is taken to a mental health institute in Colorado, and they tell her these are delusions, this is trauma, and when she's let out, her and Lou divorce. When they divorce, they still have custody of they share custody of her son. She tries to go to this cabin to try and reconnect with her son, who's in his almost 10 or 11 at this point, and they're trying to reconnect. They find a motorcycle there. She's fascinated with it. She's like, I need to fix this bike. But while she's off dealing with these issues, Charles Minks comes back to life after he's been legally declared dead and has a person named Binks that is helping him, who he promised to take to Christmas Land years and years ago. So Binks is helping him get back on his feet, to get back to his Rolls Royce and kidnap more children. And while they're kidnapping more children, Binks gets to keep the parents or deal with the parents. That's all Charles wants him to do. And Charles decided he wants to get back at Victoria. So he tracks her down, kidnaps her son, and we spend the rest of the book in her journey trying to get her son back. She follows him around to Christmas Land. She ends up confronting Binks and killing him, finding out the extent of what he does. And she's contacted with the FBI because once her son was kidnapped, she contacted the FBI and my son was kidnapped by Charles Minks. And they're like, you're crazy, he's dead. And they think she had a psychotic episode and killed her son, and she's responsible for it. Lou doesn't believe that. He's there with her, and she's like, I need you to believe me. And she goes across the bridge in front of everybody, so everybody sees it. She ends up contacting her old dad, getting explosives because she decides she's gonna blow up Christmas Land because that's where Charles is taking her son. Her and Lou get to Christmas Land, except she handcuffs him to a tree right outside of it because she's like, I'm not gonna make it. You need to take care of our son. She goes into Christmas Land, confronts Charles and all of the children that he has kidnapped over the years, and there's 100 or 200 children there, all trying to attack her. She confronts Charles, blows up his car, which his soul or his whole vitality type thing, the reason he is alive is because the car is still there. Destroy the car, you destroy Charles. Otherwise, he just keeps coming back. And so she finally gets her son. He's safe, and she is stabbed, she is shot throughout all of this. She's beaten and everything. Kudos to this woman for continuing to go. I don't know. It was kind of ridiculous how often she was hurt trying to get her son back. But she gets him back. She pushes him outside of Christmas Land. He goes and gets his father. And we do a time skip to where Lou is dating one of the FBI investigators that were investigating Victoria. Victoria is gone, but Wayne, her son, is like, I don't feel like a real person. I don't feel like a regular kid should feel. I'm still feeling like the thing he was turning me into. And once Lou is better, and him and the FBI agent and Wayne, they're like, let's take a drive. Lou takes them back to that house because that floor is covered in Christmas ornaments. He starts taking them and smashing them. When the FBI agent is like, what are you doing? Why? And he was like, Victoria told me that the ornaments have the souls of the children. He's like, so Wayne's not going to feel right until we find his and destroy it. So they just go around, they start breaking all of these ceramic and glass ornaments, and it's releasing the souls of the children. Wayne finally finds his, breaks it, and all of the emotions that he was feeling throughout this whole thing start coming back to him because it was suppressed when he was being turned into a monster. So he breaks his, he's able to process what's going on, and they're just happily breaking all the ornaments to free the children. A few of the children, Charles Manx's actual daughters, one or two, I can't remember, one or two of them escape Christmas land throughout that. They find their ornaments. They grab their ornaments along with a little camp of other children. They all grab their ornaments and they run off to go cause mayhem somewhere else. And that's how the book ends. Is it a totes or nope? I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars, so that's a totes from me. But if you want a more in-depth review of this book, check out in the video in the description below. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will hopefully talk to you guys very soon. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.